Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Miles High Club podcast. I am your host, Miles. This is episode number 53. And what an exciting start to the week we have had. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going straight in with it. Facebook was down, WhatsApp was down, Instagram was down. Now, let me just cover that very quickly. I feel like the whole internet needs to go down. Here's for why. Facebook, Insta, and WhatsApp went down. So I'd say anyone over the age of 40 was really upset by this. Most of Europe. Because this was a worldwide thing. This affected everyone worldwide. So Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp worldwide. I found out that WhatsApp in the UK... No, this is a lot. I found out that people that use Android phones in the UK rely on WhatsApp quite heavily. Everyone else around the world and iPhone users, they are still rocking with iMessage, and sometimes I can see why. But yeah, Facebook went down. Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp, so FB goes down, they all go down. Now, the excuse they put out there for why it went down was, I think they said, a configuration error. I feel like they tried to use big words on us, but no, hold on, I'm getting it right up now. So yeah, the Facebook, they had a faulty configuration change, and that led to an outage that prevented the company's 3.5 billion users from accessing its apps and services, including WhatsApp and Instagram, for nearly 6 hours. I'm sure there's only like 7 or 8 billion people in the whole wide world. So to say half the world's population, that's fucking crazy. Half the world's population uses either Facebook, WhatsApp, or Instagram. Possibly all three of them. And it went down. I want to say it led to turmoil, but I couldn't tell you what happened. I rarely use Facebook. I talk on WhatsApp, but it went down during the day for me. So I was at work, so I wasn't really trying to WhatsApp too much. I was getting work done. And Instagram, again, I'm hard on Instagram. I've said this before, I was in the midst of getting ready to delete all my social media until I started this podcast, which is the only reason I've got Facebook still. And one of the main reasons why I've got Instagram still. But yeah, it all went down. And if you were like me, this is what happened. If it went down, if you were like me, you went elsewhere. I live on YouTube. I've said it more than once. I'll say it again. I live on YouTube. So all three of these things going down wouldn't have bothered me, because I would have been watching a video on YouTube regardless. For everyone that wanted a social interaction, you could either text or ring people. I know it sounds archaic. But there was also Twitter. Twitter was still there, poking fun like Twitter does. Telegram, that messaging app, that was still there. There was still a few apps. It was only things owned by the big Facebook conglomerate that went down. And the reason why I say I feel like the whole internet needs to go down is because no one really panicked. There'd have been a few people maybe that rely on businesses or anything that would have been in a big panic. But WhatsApp goes down, just text them. It's not a big deal. If WhatsApp goes down, you just text someone. If Facebook and Instagram go down, like I said, there's Twitter. I would say TikTok, but I don't class TikTok as a social media, because I don't know how much social engagement there actually is. I suppose it's like Instagram, but Facebook and Twitter, they're driven around social interaction. So, Facebook goes down, you go to Twitter. So that's why I didn't see such a big thing now. If the whole internet went down, if your phone stopped working, and then you went to your laptop or tablet and that stopped working, and then you tried to put your smart TV on and that stopped working, imagine the whole internet goes down just for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. I'd hate to think what the world would have turned into in those 10 minutes. I really do hate to think what it would turn down to. But the main reason why I'm talking about this, I don't necessarily care so much about Facebook going down, more so the timing of when Facebook went down. So, for anyone that hasn't been following, or if you don't know, Facebook is currently dealing with a whistleblower. So a woman by the name of Frances Haugen. Like Hagen, it's spelt like the start of Haagen-Dazs, so I'm pronouncing it Frances Haugen. If I'm wrong, I apologise. But yes, Frances Haugen, who is a whistleblower, she worked for Facebook for about 2 years, and then she blew the whistle on Facebook, basically saying Facebook puts its astronomical profits before people. This is a long story, and it's still an ongoing story, so I'm not going to get into it all, but she said things like Facebook News steered Facebook knew it steered young users towards damaging content and that its Instagram app was like cigarettes for under 18s. And what else? She went to Congress. She was also in Congress saying this. So if you don't know what, I'm not going to explain what US Congress is because I would have to Google it because I'm not the best. But government shit, very important. Government shit as well. In a wide-ranging testimony, the former Facebook employee said the company did not have enough staff to keep the platform safe and was literally fanning ethnic violence in developing countries. I'm just going to give you some of the bullet points. She said the buck stops with the founder and chief executive Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook knows its systems lead teenagers to anorexia-related content. The company had to break the glass and turn back on safety settings after the 6th of January Washington riot. And Facebook initially targets teenagers and children under 13. And then Monday's outage that brought down Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp meant for more than 5 hours, Facebook could not destabilize democracies. Now, the one I want to go to is the company had to break the glass and turn back on safety settings after the January 6th Washington riots when the white people stormed the Capitol. So we see safety settings when we go on Facebook. This is the backdoor safety settings. This is what Facebook can control. For example, Facebook can block any, if they wanted to, Facebook can block or at least flag any video content post that has the word rape in there, has the word nigger in there, has the word murder in there. They can use algorithms, so if anyone says murder, kill, bomb, explosion, any sort of threatening words, and then it's linked with a high up politician, the president, the queen, someone like that, that probably all gets flagged. So they got in trouble during probably both elections. I remember the very first, the Trump-Hillary election, I remember seeing it coming up a lot. And then the Trump-Biden election. It comes up a lot about how Facebook are using certain tactics to send out the left messages to the right and send out right messages to the left. And then they will double down on that by sending extreme left messages to the left and then extreme right messages to the right. So that not only would they'd see all the shit people are talking, but then they'd get it all backed up by seeing the extremists, and they'd only be getting fed one sort of thing, and that was influencing what states and what people were voting where and whatnot. And they had their safety settings, so they turned their safety settings on. Shortly after the whole Trump and election thing went off, they turned off their safety settings, okay? Turned off safety settings. This means all the dangerous and harmful posts, whether it was racial, sexist, homophobic, sexual violence, normal violence, anything like that, there was no safety settings to turn these things off, to stop the videos getting spread, to stop the videos or posts getting passed around and spread around and whatnot. And because, again, the January 6th riots, which had a bunch of people on Facebook getting hyped and hyping each other up with things like and again, the main reason they have these safety features is for things like misinformation, okay? For example, if you go on Instagram, if you can post anything you want on Instagram, as soon as you mention COVID or anything to do with COVID, there's like a little banner that comes up at the bottom of your video and it's about warnings and if you want more information on COVID, click here to find this out on there now. They can do that. They can turn that off. So if I put up a reel or a post saying COVID, nothing will come up. They've got a setting on so that whenever anyone mentions COVID, this comes up. Take that however you want. However, if someone was to say nigger or kill a nigger, nothing comes up. There's no post that pops up about racial discrimination or about being sensitive to other people's races. If I wanted to go out there and say something about someone's religion, someone's sex, wanted to say something about gay people, trans people, there is nothing that comes up that says, here's more information to help you understand this. It lets you know. They know what they're doing and they know what to control and how to control it. So again, they had these safety settings, they turned safety settings off, and then they had to turn it back like they had to. It says here they had to break the glass and turn back on the safety settings after the Washington riot because they know they may not have caused it, but they were definitely fanning the flames. They were fanning and fueling the flames of what was going on. on there. So this whistleblower came out, and again, this is why I'm saying it's this whistleblower. All this was happening on Monday. So while this person's coming out and saying, hold on, let me see if I can get any more quotes. But while she's coming out and she's saying Facebook knew Instagram users were being led to anorexia-related content, she said that the algorithm led children from very incurious topics like healthy recipes all the way to anorexia-promoting content over a short period of time. She was saying so much stuff. She's basically saying Facebook doesn't give a shit about your safety because they're making astronomical profits from it. Simple as that. There are companies out there that the whole purpose of this company is to create misinformation and then put it out there and get this misinformation spread just so people start fighting and arguing all over it. And she basically said the main reason for this is because as much as people say they want more good, more positive content, like a cute puppy walking down the road, that's good and well, but what Facebook sees is when Facebook puts out, or when someone clicks on something positive on Facebook, they don't necessarily spend a lot of time on that post, or they end up leaving the site directly from that post. However, when they post up something, let's use the word controversial, it gets a lot more people clicking, a lot more people are watching, which means more people are using Facebook, more people are using Instagram for a longer period of time, which is more lucrative to them. So they're going to be like, well, why would I stop all these negative videos about rape and race and politics and religion? Why would I stop or hide these videos or push them out less when that means less people are coming to my site? No, give them what they want. And we are all guilty. Are we the first person to admit that if something happens, like if something positive happens and someone's like, oh my God, did you hear about this person getting this award or this person doing this? I'll be like, okay, sweet. If something bad happens, like if I see a police helicopter or an ambulance on the road, or there is a blocked off road somewhere, the first thing I do, straight onto Facebook, and I'll just search the area just to see if anything's been put on Facebook. The videos of people was it last year and the year before, there was multiple videos of people getting stabbed on Facebook. This is Facebook, you know. Apparently Facebook aim their things at kids. I can see why they would aim their stuff at the under 18s. Because Facebook, to me, Facebook's where middle-aged to older white people go to moan. I don't mean to be racist, it's where they go to moan. Black people, Twitter. Young white people, Reddit. I feel like Reddit's a really white app as well. I use Reddit. I love Reddit. I'm not discriminating here. I'm just saying. That's where it tends. That's where people tend. That's how people are all split up on what you tend to think when you. That's what I shouldn't say they. That's what I associate with. If you were to say Instagram, I associate Instagram with the younger generation. I associate TikTok with the even younger generation. I associate Twitter with the younger to 30, 40-ish generation. Facebook, 30, 40 plus. 30, 40 plus, it's a bunch of 30, 40 plus and parents. I'm a parent, but I'm not that kind of parent. Now, if you're one of those parents that's on Facebook, I don't know what you want to say to you. You fit it perfectly. People that just want to moan and judge and pretend they know everything, or flood their fucking feed with pictures of their goats or sheep or animals or children dressed as animals dressed as children. All the weird stuff that you just like, the cat lady. That's who I always assume is on Facebook. So I can see why Facebook would be aiming for someone, the under 18s and younger. But yeah, I'm 1,000% part of that problem. I flick through Facebook like it's nothing. If I see drama, I will stop and hold it right there, watch it, and then I'll carry on going with it as well. Don't ask me why. It's just, I feel like it's the time we live in. This is a perfect setup for something I want to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about it yet. But in short, skip ahead in the video if you don't care about all this. I'm going to talk about Squid Game and how the creator of Squid Game said it took him 10 years to go through with the Squid Game. And again, it was mainly because the vision he had back then was seen as absurd, whereas the vision for Squid Game now, it just seems like something that could actually happen and take place. But there you go, you guys are all caught up. If you didn't know, Now you know, you're all caught up. So on Monday, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp went down for like 6.5, 7 hours. Just happens to be the exact... And again, it didn't just go down. So when I say Facebook went down, I didn't mean it went down. Like, Facebook was gone, okay? This faulty configuration, you couldn't find Facebook. There was a tweet that got sent out of someone explaining it, and it was basically like, your computer needs a roadmap to find Facebook. Someone burnt that roadmap. So you couldn't, no one anywhere could find Facebook. If you went online, like onto an actual internet browser and searched Facebook, no searches found, no results found. You couldn't get onto Facebook. If you had the app, nothing was happening. Twitter, that wasn't the same for WhatsApp and Instagram. They were down, but you could still find them, whereas Facebook went down. Just happens to go down the same time that someone's talking to US Congress, whistleblowing on Facebook, saying how they don't care about anyone's safety. They deliberately target our children, and it's all for astronomical profits. Take that as you will. I just think it's again, Miles in his conspiracy bag. I've already told you that once before. I love a conspiracy, but it's just... Some things are just very... the way things just linked up, I'm just like, doesn't seem quite as legit as they're making it out to be. Moving on, the European Parliament on Wednesday has called for a ban on the police use of facial recognition technology in public places and on predictive policing. Now, I was like, what the fuck is predictive policing? Predictive policing is a practice that involves using artificial intelligence in an attempt to profile potential criminals before a crime has been committed. Now, before you lot watch and do what I do and immediately jump to race here, let's just stop and think about all the different ways AI would be able to profile a potential criminal. Because I have my theories on what a paedophile looks like, what a pervert looks like, what a thief looks like, blah, 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 blah. All of that. What are they putting into... Like, what algorithms is going into this artificial intelligence, in this AI, for them to be able to profile potential criminals? People walking with their hoods up. People in groups. Let's just go there. Black people? Is it just going to beam in on someone black and then follow them just to make sure they're not up to nothing? I need to understand more about what this predictive policing is, because I'm with the European Parliament. Ban that shit of AI in attempt to profile potential criminals, because I don't understand until someone comes out and tells me how they can do that. Like, if someone's sweating in an airport, does that mean that they're nervous? If someone's sweating in a bank, I have so many questions on how you profile a potential criminal using AI. It's not like they've got profilers, which is very convenient considering I'm watching Criminal Minds now, and that's a whole business analysis unit. It's not like they have a bunch of those guys just planted around watching people's body language. Maybe that's what AI can do. Can AI test? It's a conversation for another day. But at the minute, I'm with them. Using facial recognition, I don't mind. Here's why. Pedophiles, rapists, murderers, depending on what they actually murder for. Anyone that committed some sort of violent, horrible crime. Yes. Facial recognition on them. If a paedophile walks past the school, I want a camera to pick him up and start going off. Or have the police pull up to him and later on in the day say, yo, that camera caught you outside the school. You know, you're not meant to be by schools. What was you doing over there? For that, I can understand. But then you come into the whole Black Mirror thing of, as soon as you, like, to increase people's security, you have to take away people's privacy. You can't increase security and increase privacy. It doesn't work like that. The higher your security, the lower your privacy. The higher your privacy, the lower your security. Do we have the perfect balance at the minute? No idea. They say things like in Birmingham, from the minute you step off the bus or to the minute you get somewhere, you're always on camera. I mean, is that a bad thing? But then would you guys want cameras on every single street? Like imagine, just think about all the crime that would get cut out if they had cameras on every single street light in the streets. But then imagine how you'd feel knowing that as soon as you open your curtains, there's possibly a camera looking in. There's places in America, I don't know if we've got them in England, we might do, but there's places in America where they, like certain lamp posts and street lights and all that kind of stuff, have microphones in them. So that if a gunshot goes off, or like a loud noise, like an explosion or gunshot goes off, that triggers and rings, it then runs through to a system. That system then rings the police to say, yo, a gunshot was just detected on this over here. And instead of waiting for someone to call the police to report it, police can get out there, which to me, fucking genius. But again, higher the security, lower the privacy. Pick your poison. What else have we got on here? This, just hear me out. NASA has plans to smash a spacecraft into an asteroid to test if it can change the course of killer asteroids in the future. One half of me, it's a fan-fucking-tastic idea. Throw something into space, let it crash with an asteroid, that changes course, the world is free. The other half of me, what do they know for them to start doing this now? Should we be... I mean, if there was something hurtling towards this Earth that's going to get here in a day, a year, 100 years, NASA, keep it to yourself. NASA, keep it to yourself. Here's why. Do you guys remember what happened when lockdown happened? No risk, no immediate risk to your life. It was just everyone stay indoors. Pasta went, rice went, toilet roll went, yeast went, flour went, everything. Like the shops were bare for a very long time. You guys remember what happened when they said there's not enough HGV drivers? Not even there's not enough petrol. There's just not enough people to deliver the petrol. Plenty of fuel. We just need some more people to help deliver this fuel. Everyone rushed out to the petrol stations. Queues for people were queuing for 30 minutes to an hour. People were queuing for multiple hours. People were fighting. And that was over. Not enough people driving a lorry. If you think telling everyone that there is something hurtling towards this planet that could possibly kill some of us, never mind all of us, I can't see the reaction going down too well. So whatever they know, keep it to yourself. But yeah, NASA's new spacecraft mission aims to smash into the asteroid to reduce its speed. The asteroid will be slowed by a centimeter per second, but that's enough to change its orbit and eventual course. Scientists are testing to see if this method can help the Earth defend itself from future incoming asteroids. Like I said, great idea, forward thinking, but are we being proactive or reactive? Are we being proactive? Well, someone just sat there thinking, guys, anyone thought about just firing a rocket into space and seeing what happens with an asteroid? Maybe they've been waiting for an asteroid to get close enough so they can test this thing out. Because, I mean, you can't just fire a rocket into space to aim for an asteroid. You need an asteroid to be there. So I'm assuming an asteroid's come around, they're like, we can put this to the test and fire a rocket out there. Or are they being reactive? Is there something big and bad on the way, but maybe there are some smaller ones in front of it? So this is let's test this out. See if it works. If it works, hurrah. If it doesn't work, what next? Can we build some sort of missile launch defense system on the moon? I'm sure Trump mentioned a few years ago he was creating a space military force. Again, no idea what made him say that. I reckon Trump must have saw or heard something about aliens and said, fuck this. I have enough issues dealing with the illegal aliens. Not that I think Mexicans are illegal aliens, but that's what they think. I have enough issues dealing with illegal aliens in America. Never mind aliens coming from outer space take over the whole world. Space Force, get up there, defend our planet. It's a crazy world, guys. It is a crazy world. And speaking of crazy, I think I spoke about this story a few weeks ago, how there was a New York hospital that was having to get rid of so many workers. Now, thousands of US workers have said that they would rather quit or be fired than get vaccinated. Now, I know you're thinking, a lot of my stories do seem to be anti-vax. And that's because there's no stories about getting vaccinated. But the only stories I can tell you about people getting vaccinated is people get vaccinated, they can do things in some countries. Some survive, well, a lot survive, some don't. When it comes to not getting vaccinated, however, it kicks up more of a fuss, more of a storm happens around it. I listen to a few podcasts. Some of those podcasts I listen to are American, more specifically a New York-based podcast. And I was listening to that podcast the other week, and they were talking about how in New York, you pretty much can't go anywhere or do anything unless you are vaccinated and have the proof to prove you've had the double jab and you are vaccinated. Simple as that. There's no way around it. I like to pay attention to these things because I'm like, if New York's doing this, And if it works out well over in New York and maybe the rest of America do it, is it going to be long before they start implementing that stuff everywhere else around the world? I know they had the vaccine passports in the UK. They didn't cancel those vaccine passports, okay? They were just delayed. They were just put on hold. Passports may come back in. They've probably got a marketing team out there to try and work out how can we spin this, and they'll probably just change the name, same rules, change the name, give it a different slogan, put someone else in charge of it, and then most people are like, oh, look at this. This isn't the passport. This is much better. No, it's the same thing. It's just got a fancy name. But yeah, they said thousands of US workers would rather quit or be fired than get vaccinated. I'm gonna bring my boy on next week. I'm gonna ask him if he's free. I'm gonna bring him on next week. This would be a great sort of talk to him about. Only because where he works, he is now from the messages that he'll be sending in our WhatsApp group. It looks like he's now being forced to take the vaccine in order to continue with his job. And I know for a fact he loves this job. He's been doing this job since he was 16, 18, one of those two ages, possibly 18. So this is something that he lives for, but he's not happy about getting the vaccination. He doesn't want to get the vaccination, but he also doesn't want to lose his job. Rocking a hard place for him. But yeah, as mandatory COVID inoculation deadlines approach for federal workers in the US, vaccine skeptics are exacerbating the shortage of skilled labor. Human resource departments are at their wits' end, one advisor told The Independent, as many industries forced to let go of employees who are difficult to replace. For example, specialized staff, maternity people in hospitals, all sorts of things like that. Pray for America, everyone. Whether you think they deserve your prayers or not is a different question. But let's just pray for America, everyone, because God knows what's going on out there. But that was the weekly roundup. Let's get straight into what's on the box, the weekly segment where I talk about what TV shows and movies I have been watching. For the third week in a row, yes, I'm going to talk about Squid Game. Why? First time I spoke about Squid Game, I must have been ahead of the pack. Okay? Not on purpose. I'm on Netflix, I always look at new and popular. And in the new, I saw Squid Game. Watched the trailer. Oh, children games turning deadly. That sounds dope. Clicked add to list. It came out, which is why I was only 4 episodes in. Last week's episode, I'd watched it all, and people are still talking about it now. People are online with their videos about, did you catch this detail? Did you miss this? Did you miss this? 2 important things I want to cover off about Squid Game before I talk about the main bit of Squid Game is, number 1, you wouldn't survive the Squid Game. Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm sick and tired of seeing people. A lot of people out there are saying, I'd survive the Squid Game. You're doing that because you know what the games are and you know you're thinking with the knowledge of everything you've seen. You've got foresight. You know what's happening. So you're saying to yourself, I can beat the Squid Game. Let's all be honest. Let's all be honest. Now, yes, they're Korean games. Let's remove the element of them being Korean games, because I explained before, red light, green light, what's the time, Mr. Wolf, it's the same thing. First game, I can happily admit that first game, there's a good chance I would have died. Why? Because as soon as that first person got shot and they rolled him over and I saw everyone running, unless I saw those people getting shot when they were running, I'd have just been in panic mode. I've never seen anyone get shot before. I'm in panic mode. I probably would have ran. Probably would have got shot. It's just as simple as that. And let's just say we make it past the first round. Like I said, most of you aren't, but let's just say for some strange miracle reason, I'm one of the few that makes it through to that second round, that honeycomb game. Listen, I do not have the patience, nor do I have the gentle doctor hands to navigate that needle through any of those shapes. Apparently the star is the easiest shape to do, not the triangle. The triangle is the most basic shape, but because of the honeycomb and the way they use it, because honeycomb, you can't, no matter where you break it, it can break off in any direction, which is why they do it for the game. There's more risk of you breaking the triangle because it's a longer line that you've got to come down before you end than with the star. Again, I wouldn't know that going into the game. I see we see 4 things in front of us. We all just go. Worst thing is, watching that game, I said to myself when I saw all 4 of those shapes, I'm either going circle or umbrella. So I said to myself, I'd have been out of here. And so would all of you, look, okay? So would all of you. Now let's say a miracle happens again and a few of you got past that and you make it in to the tug of war game. I'm going to say this now. The Koreans had that thing where they were like, we need men are stronger, women are weak, and just assumed that. I don't know if people over here in this culture will just assume it's a game of strength. It's the first team game. None of the previous games have been games of strength. It's a child game, so now you're thinking of all the games that you used to play as a kid that involved groups. I don't know if I'll be going for strength. I don't know any of these tug of war tactics. I'd have just heaved. You see where I'm going with this? It's not as easy as you like making it out. You'd have died. And number 2, was Sang-woo's game plan genius? Listen, calm down. I am with you. I am not a fan of Sang-woo. I hate Sang-woo. I would put hands, feet, elbows, knees, heads, shoulder. I'd put everything all over Sang-woo. I wanted to jump through the screen and beat the dog shit out of Sang-woo. However, was he wrong? I want to go back and watch Squid Game again. Only because at no point, to my memory, do they ever say that there's either going to be one winner or that there can be multiple winners. They just say whoever wins gets that cash sum. It lets you know that if people are dying, you get that sum. Nothing about the game lets you or leads you to believe that more than one person can win. So from the very get-go, you should understand that it's a every man for themselves game. The first 2 games you played were solo games. So once again, at some point you need to realise these are all every man for themselves. So regardless of who I see in there, who I know in there, there can only be one winner. At some point, you have to die, you all have to die so I can win. So I ask you again, yes, it was dirty, yes, it was backstabbing, conniving, evil, complete Slytherin move, but was his game plan genius? Because we also had someone who was, for example, the Doctor. The Doctor knew all the games that were coming ahead. The only reason he told the evil guy is purely because he didn't want to get beat up and killed in the middle of the night and wanted to roll with the tough guys. The Glassmaker, spoilers if you haven't watched this yet. The very last game, the Glassmaker, he worked in a glass factory at the very start of that game. He could have said, yep, I worked in a glass factory. I can get down and tell you which glass is safe. No! He kept that shit to himself until it came up to him being at the very front of the pack and he had to get himself self-safety. It's not selfish, self-preservation, okay? Self-preservation, it's the most important thing. When you're on a plane, if you're on a plane with your kids, you're on a plane with your elderly mom, your wife, your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend, enemy. When you're on a plane and shit goes left and they're telling you what happens to do, what to do if shit goes left, they always say, put your own mask on first. Don't put your kid's mask on first. Don't put your elderly mum's mask on first. Don't put anyone else's mask on until you've put your own mask on. Why? Self-preservation. Simple as that. Sang-woo had a family out there. I know Ali had a family out there as well. Ali was naive. I called him foolish to a friend. I was like, I'll take foolish back, but he was naive. Any game I am in, any game, if I'm winning and I only need one more to win, I'm winning. I don't give a shit what you say. Nope, because the loser gets killed. That's the only reason you're begging like this. Because if Sang-woo really cared, at the very start of the game, Sang-woo would have said, yo, look, let's not play each other. Let's do it. No, he waited until it was him ready to dead. And he waited until after he tried to physically threaten Ali. Then red guy come put it right up against his head. And them guns are big. And he felt the pressure and was like, you know what? Let me just get this creases out your shoulders. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that to you. We're all friends. We are all friends here. But yeah, I was talking about it earlier. I've seen multiple stories keep coming up, and it's when a story comes out and then people keep putting a twist on it. One story said that the creator of the Squid Game was turned down for 10 years before Netflix picked this up, or he was turned down by so many studios before Netflix picked this up. And then most of the other stories I'm seeing is that he thought of the idea 10 years ago. And I keep seeing a mixture of, he thought of the ideas 10 years ago. I see a mixture of, he didn't pitch the idea to anyone because he knew how absurd his idea sounded back then. Or he tried to pitch it to a few people, and again, they were like, no, that is crazy. And again, if you go back, this was what, 2008, I think they said, so it's just over 10 years ago, but he's had it for over 10 years, this idea for over 10 years. And if you think about the world and how the world was back then, there was no I'm trying to think of there was no Black Mirror. Streaming wasn't really the biggest thing going. You didn't have all this edgy content out there. I can see why it wouldn't have gone down well 10 years ago, but now, 2021, if someone came out right now and said, Squid Game, that's a real thing, that really happens in some countries, they get a bunch of poor people to play games for them, I believe it. As a matter of fact, I believe that there is something very similar to a Squid Game out there, and if there's not, or if there wasn't, should I say, that might happen somewhere. So anyone that's in, and I don't think they're going to make it as nice as they did, where you could just quit the game and bounce. No. Once you're in, you're in. So I think they're not going to pick debt. They'll pick people that are in debt, that might have killed themselves, might have ran away, the homeless, anything like that. It's just crazy. My conspiracy, I love a conspiracy. My conspiracy is that the creator of Squid Game has seen that this Japanese producer and the Japanese show to do with the God's will, which has basically said, this Japanese film came out in 2014, and they're basically saying, yo, you just took our fucking idea. Children's game that turn out dead, that have deadly consequences. That's basically, there's a Japanese film called The God's Will or something like that. It's basically the exact same thing. The first game is the exact same. They don't call it red light, green light, but there's this demonic thing, and it turns around, and if it sees you moving, it kills you, and you've got to get to the end to turn it off. For every and it's set in a school. Each period, each class period is a different game. There's 6 games. In this, there was 6 games. I can see the similarities. I feel like he just said, I had this idea for 10 years. Just so anyone that is trying to say you copied these people would be like, no. He said he thought of this years ago. 6 years before you thought of that. So, you can't do it to him, which, again, it's a very smart tactic. It's a very smart tactic indeed. Just having a sip of my herbal tea there, don't mind me. But I'm glad everyone has jumped on Squid Game. If it's not already, it's very close to becoming the most successful show on Netflix ever. And I can see why. But let's have a think. The last time, Bridgerton, I don't remember everyone talking about Bridgerton. If I keep it 1,000, I remember seeing a lot of women on my timeline who were talking about Bridgerton, and a few memes of people talking about Bridgerton. That was it. Bird Box, probably another one that was massive. But again, was Bird Box massive due to the film, or was it massive just because people were seeing the blindfold thing, and then there was the Bird Box challenge, which blew it up even more? And Tiger King. Tiger King's probably the only thing. And Don't Fuck With... I don't even remember seeing Don't Fuck With Cats. If you didn't watch Don't F With Cats, go and watch that on Netflix. I don't even remember seeing that blowing up like this was blowing up. Tiger King, that had songs and remixes and all sorts. Tiger King's probably the second closest thing that I remember seeing blow up this big. And Squid Game has surpassed it. Samsung in the Philippines came up with an ad where they've got like the watch as a circle, and then we've got our flippers, the square, and something else as a triangle shape. It is taking over. I'm in no rush for a season 2, only because the guy keeps saying they didn't plan for a season 2 and it's not coming out anytime soon. So don't rush it. Don't fuck up a good thing. Because I don't understand how you're going to do the whole Ji-hun. Because the only story they can really tell because the policeman's brother died, is the mask man, the front man, maybe he's the new host, maybe he takes over everything. And Ji-hun, is Ji-hun going to get back into the game? Does he spend his whole season trying to search for the game? You see what I mean? It's one of them. What else happened this week? House of Dragon. The House of Dragon trailer dropped. So the Game of Thrones prequel that is based on the Fire and Blood book series. So the series you were used to is the Song of Ice and Fire. We're on about the Fire and Blood now. It's due to come out on spring 2022 on HBO Max. I don't think I care. I'm sorry. I'm that jaded. I was that hurt by that final season of Game of Thrones that I generally don't know if I don't care. And look, I understand there are people out there that are like, oh, the only reason you don't like this or you don't like that is because you ended up having a preconceived notion of what was going to happen, and because that didn't happen, you hate it. Wrong. Every time I see a Marvel movie, I have about 5 theories in my head about what's going to happen. I then end up spending 17 hours on YouTube watching a whole bunch of other people have theories, and then I have all these theories going through my head, and then none of them come true. And I'm like, that was fucking amazing. WandaVision, everyone thought Mephisto was going to appear. I did. There was the devil. You kids are devil spawn. Everything was pointing to Mephisto. Agatha in the comics worked sort of for Mephisto before she turned. Everything was pointing to Mephisto. Nothing. We all thought there was going to be an X-Men entry. Ralph Boner. And I still think WandaVision was a top tier series. Not better than Loki, but it was still a top tier series. So I don't take the whole, oh, you had No, they just fucked up. The simple fact that the writers of season 8 said, I don't know why they picked us. We didn't really care about Game of Thrones or watch Game of Thrones. We were rushing because we wanted to go over and start writing for Star Wars, which was shit, and then they ended up leaving Star Wars to go write for something else. Like, everything about season 8 was shit. If you're a diehard Game of Thrones fan, you saw the quality dropping in season 6. In season 6 and season 7, things started to get a bit more rushed. They were just skipping from place to place. We weren't really getting those journeys or the stories, but it was still good. It was still watchable. Season 8. The first episode, brilliant. It brought everyone back together. It got everyone back at Winterfell, preparing for the long night. Episode 3, the long night. I still think the long night should have been a whole season, or at least 2 episodes. At the very least, it should have been 2 episodes. It was still an amazing episode. That scene of Arya creeping through the library it was definitely the best scene for season 8. It's got to be a top 5 scene for the whole Game of Thrones series. I said it. Arya creeping, tiptoeing through, and then when she walks through and the zombies there, she stabs it through the mouth so it can't scream. She has to lay the body down. The bit where she's hiding, the sweat drips and hits the floor. Listen, that is a top 5 Game of Thrones scene. House of Dragon, I'll probably end up watching it. The cast looks great. The trailer looked good. It's a great budget. And the story they're telling, which is based on the Targaryens, it could be interesting. I'm just not going to get my hopes up. For it. Something else I'm not going to get my hopes up for, even though I've already had my hopes up for it, is Venom. Is it Unleash the Carnage? Venom, the second Venom movie. It comes out on Friday. So it comes out Friday the 8th in the UK, but it's already out in the US now. I'm pissed off for 2 reasons. One, I follow, like again I've said, I'm always on YouTube. I follow so many different things on YouTube that I have to keep ducking spoilers. I keep seeing video of end credit explained, the ending explained, who's stronger, Venom or Carnage? And I'm just like, I need to watch this film before things get spoiled for me. And the other thing that's pissed me off, it's not pissed me off, but I'm just a bit about, is the reviews. I haven't read any of the reviews. I try not to read reviews about stuff before I watch it, so I don't get any, I don't like start pre-thinking things before we go in. I just want to be like, fresh mind, fresh thoughts, go into it. But the reviews aren't looking good. Like the ratings aren't looking good for it. A few reviews I've seen, I try not to read the words. I just look at like out of 10 or out of 5, how many stars, Rotten Tomatoes, things like that. They haven't been looking good. So fingers crossed it's just an American thing maybe, and when it comes out I really enjoy it. I really, really want to enjoy it, but we'll see what happens, because Sony, just give up everything Marvel and give it to Disney. Fuck me. Yes, you've got Spider-Man correct and bang on. Again, that's because Marvel have been involved. The first Venom was, it was good. The CGI was a bit, and that end fight scene was caca, because I don't remember fucking seeing it. It was just big, just watching two big black ink splodges. Like, imagine getting a bowl of water and putting one ink splodge in one end, one ink splodge in the other end, and then just swirling your finger right in the middle. That's exactly what that fight scene looked like. No clarity whatsoever. Sony, just focus on the PlayStation. Give all the rights back to Disney. You know what you should do? This is what you should do. You keep all the gaming rights, because that Spider-Man game is fucking amazing. Both of them, Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales. You've got Wolverine coming out. And if you compare Spider-Man to the Avengers game, I prefer what Sony are doing than whoever made that Avengers game. Because that Avengers game, it's good, but it's no Spider-Man. Nowhere near. So that's the deal. All things gaming, Marvel, Disney, hand over to Sony. All things TV, Sony, hand right back over to Disney. Keep your partnership. Sony make all the money off the games. Disney make all the money off movies and TV. Split the merchandise. Everyone is happy. Well, not everyone, but I'd be happy. And that's what I care about the most. Self-preservation. I'll be happy. And finally, what a way to close the podcast by talking about the latest installment, the 6th installment in Dave Chappelle's Netflix comedy specials, The Closer. I said it before and I'll say it again. Dave Chappelle is the GOAT. Dave Chappelle is my favourite comedian. Dave and Chris Rock go top for me. I always want to put Eddie there, but then I'm like, I didn't really grow up on Eddie's stand-ups, but then Nutty Professors, again, is a top-tier film. Shrek, Mushu. Eddie's got to know, yeah. Eddie's got to be in my top 3. Again, because of my Dave, Eddie, Chris Rock. And this one is good. He talks about how he wants to answer all the questions from his previous specials. I'm not going to try and give away I'm not going to give anything away. You might have seen, the one thing I'll talk about is the joke you might have seen where he talks about how the baby killed someone in Walmart. Nothing happened to his career, but you hurt a gay person's feelings. Like, he's basically saying that in this country, you can kill a nigger and get away with it, but you better not hurt a gay person's feelings, which made me chuckle. I can see where it's coming from. It's a bit, because like, the baby didn't just like randomly shoot and kill someone for fun or to make it, because he thought it was funny. Like, he was protecting himself and his family. Allegedly, they instigated the fight. He pulled out the hammer he took their hammer off. He got a hammer from somewhere. Bow! Killed the guy who defended himself. I think he got arrested for a misdemeanor, but then he got dropped on self-defense charges. Whereas what he did on stage was a bit wild, just saying if you ain't got AIDS or HIV, none of those diseases that can kill you, put your light on. If you weren't sucking no dick, niggas, if you weren't sucking no dick in the car park, put your light on. But I understand what he meant there. He talks to the LGBT community and he breaks it down. He's like, yo, LGBT community, I'm not giving it away. Go and watch Dave Chappelle, The Closer. And then once you've watched it, do what I'm about to do and go back to the start and go and watch all 6 of those specials again. So good. So good. I don't know if it's because I'm a black male, so I don't feel like he's ever making fun of me. But I find him hilarious. He's again, the one thing he says in these jokes is like, yo, LGBT community. He goes, I am never ever talking about you. He's like, I'm talking about us. You're just not listening. Like, he recaps a lot of his jokes, and when you hear it, you're like, he's not actually making fun of transgender people. He's asking questions or pointing out differences to how transgender people are treated to how black people are treated. He asked the question, can gay people be racist? Which, yeah, they obviously can, but it goes, Dave Chappelle's a fucking genius, okay? Dave Chappelle's a genius, and one of the main reasons I put Dave Chappelle as a genius is because, unlike most comedians, it doesn't seem like he's deliberately going out of his way to be outlandish and disrespectful. To me, it never seems that way, okay? I might be biased, who knows? But again, I'm someone that sat there for how many years watching the Chappelle Show? So if Chappelle Show can make fun of himself and people like us, why can't he make fun of other people? Like, he's happy to make fun about himself. and happy to make fun. Other people were happy watching Dave Chappelle make fun of black people. Like, it's not in this special, but Dave Chappelle talks about it before, where he got told for a show before he couldn't use the word fag. Sorry if anyone listening is gay listening. He couldn't use the F word. And they were like, and Dave was like, but you let me say nigger. And they was like, yeah, but that's because you're a... And he was like, what? Because I'm a nigger. And I was like, fucking genius, it's true. You can go on there and say whatever you want about black people and rap about killing black people, but the minute you rap about someone being gay, it's problems. It is problems. But yeah, it's Dave Chappelle, The Closer. Go and watch it. Highly recommended it. And then once you've watched that, go back and watch all my old podcasts. But that's the end of another episode of the Miles High Club podcast. If you've made it this far, do me a favour. Click subscribe. It's free. Click the little thumbs up button. That is also free. Drop a comment. Good episode. Lol. Put an emoji in there. Whatever you want. Just engage with me, guys. Okay? I will reply. I'm out here trying to defeat the algorithms by myself before I start paying for marketing. Okay? But we are entering year 2 of the podcast, so I am going to start trying to build my brand. Don't know how I'm going to do it. Probably just YouTube how to build a brand and see what happens from there. I might start taking some ass shots for the gram. Who knows? I'm still working on a few things out there. But yeah, like I said, like, subscribe, comment, and give the video a little share. If you're feeling generous, give the video a little share. Until the next time, I've been Miles. You've been watching. Peace.